most important things that I learned in conflict resolution was to begin with me, to find out what was the mode of operation that I was using for conflict resolution. What was my style based on my personality and my temperament? Finding out who I was the first step for understanding conflict resolution and having empathy to have more fulfilling relationships with others that I was connected to, and to also understand and know the difference between a dispute and a conflict. A dispute happens when there is not an interdependent relationship. That would be, which is someone you met, you will never see him again, a customer, I say, opposed to a client who I want in my life and their business to sustain my business. In families where you have a family unit and you have children, that is an interdependent relationship. Whether a divorce has occurred, we have to maintain that relationship, and we're interdependent upon each other, and that's going to be a conflict. Those things have to be worked out and mean something, have value to our heart, and that's where we have suffering. If it's not the adults suffering, but most often the children suffer in conflict resolution. Actually, in 1980, the court system, and myself having a background in the court system, working for the police department where I was the communications coordinator, receiving call for services all day long, people calling 911, and me saying, "What's your emergency? What do you need?" Police, fire, EMS. A lot of times in conflict, misunderstanding, miscommunication, and a lot of times the people don't know what they need. They may need one thing, or they may need everything that you have to come and mitigate the conflict. So in conflict resolution, if you're going through conflict, the first thing you start with is analyzing yourself. Do you avoid conflict? Do you compromise all the time in conflict situations? Do you collaborate for a win-win situation in conflict? Or do you often, it's your spirit to be competitive all the time? What I found, everyone needs to be in a satisfying relationship. Everyone's going to have to get their needs met sometimes, or you're going to have resentment and other feelings to not have a satisfying relationship for all parties involved. And that is one of the beauties of understanding who you are and the other parties involved in a conflict. If it's interdependent, it can be worked out, it can be worked through, but most often you need a conflict resolution specialist that is a mediator, or in corporations that have arbitration. But all conflicts are just an alert. You don't have to label them good or bad. It's just necessarily it is what it is. And often in conflicts, what you'll find, sometimes you want the same thing, the positions that you're taking, you agree, you want the same things, but most often the conflict is the way in which you're going to get to the solution. Example, someone may want to just use a different mode of transportation if you want to arrive at the same destination. So it's really not a conflict. You've got a dispute over how to get there. Conflict resolution is a means to peace. In a world that is out of control and having issues over their belief systems, whether it's religion or any disagreement, it brings up discussion. And that's the innovative thing about conflict. Let's talk about it. As we listen to each other and understand, we are filtering information through different lenses because we have different values and different beliefs. But if we take the time and have some empathy, you'd be surprised at what you could work out. Most important for yourself to bring about a space of peace, a mind of peace, a consciousness. My story about my model of conflict resolution for a family. It works for me. It works for a corporation using the SWOT model for sustainability of any situation or relationship. But most important, the responsibility lies with me. We've got to understand who we are and take responsibility for what we believe and what we feel, and that other people have their beliefs and how they feel too, but how we can mediate and come to the middle with someone neutral. And that is part of conflict resolution. It is very calming and very peaceful. And this is what I've learned from my conflict has been a blessing. So the part of my chapter is how awesome conflict transformed my family and got us back on track to a phantom model, and we have a place of peace. We don't worry about what we don't have, and we realize all we have is what we have, and what we have is what we need.